So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, and congratulations to everyone for making all your new ranks and picking up all that new stuff. It's quite an interesting challenge getting into it, and then as you go along, as you get to new levels, you see new opportunities, and that's kind of cool. So I'm excited. I've had an opportunity to work in and around network marketing in a few different capacities over the last couple of years, including getting to speak at Network Marketing World, which is Eric Worre's big event out in Vegas. So it's a space that I understand. I'm thrilled to meet all these great coaches that are doing cool stuff. And I was thrilled that Joan said, hey, come and do some chitty chat. So Joan, if you want, I don't know what your biggest intention was. If you want, I can blather endlessly, or if you want, we can do some Q&A style, or what do you think is the best thing?
Why don't you blather for a bit, and then guys, if you have questions, you can type them right in the chat, and we can either do it as they pop up, or we can answer them at the end. However you want to do it, Chris. I'm going to just let you run with it.
Super-de-duper-de. That's a technical term. So I wanted to explain that, one of the reasons that Joan had me come on is that part of what I do for companies of a lot of different sizes, including the size of you, is the opportunity to teach people how to maybe better use digital tools to connect with people and build relationships and the like. And the idea being that with this new medium, with being able to use things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest and blogs and all this sort of thing, it really opens up some really great opportunities if we use the tools in a way that still kind of encourages people to be human and build relationships and do everything you sign up to be a coach for in the first place. I will tell you that from the outside looking in at this space in general, what happens is somebody will start a new business, will be recruited into one organization or another, and they will just start spamming Facebook and Instagram and whatever with their messages. They'll just start spamming the, whatever the current promotion is, or, ask me how you can get a free 8 days of whatever. And I can tell you from my experience, what happens then is that, your not so real friends will shut you out really quickly. Your real friends will endeavor to, give you the benefit of the doubt for a short while and then shut you out. And then the rest of the people who don't really know who you are will knock you on, invisible as well. So it'll do the opposite of what you're trying to get done. I was thinking about you this morning because I was thinking about the fact that, to me, the best marketing, the best opportunity to build business relationships is to really appeal to the kind of people you most want to attract and sort of model for them, what you're most trying to get done in the first place. And the best way to do that is to actually be the thing that you most want to attract as well. So in your case, that means you're never looking at this just as, a way to make some extra loot, which is, believe me, I love extra loot and I love eating food. And so sometimes, getting your coaching up and running so that you can buy an extra steak every now and again is a pretty decent deal, right? But that always has to come in service of helping other people. And the big goal is keep thinking of ways that you can encourage people to take the risk. Keep encouraging people that there's an opportunity to be had here. One of the things I love watching in these coaching opportunities is that it takes all types. Not everyone reacts as well to the after photo. And that's one thing that I wanted to bring up is that every time I look at Ryan's abs, I kind of want to go brr, 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 but where he has like a six pack, I have a keg. And, so when I want to meet a coach, I want to meet a coach who knows what it's like to be on that side of the equation as well. So I guess my first point about making content or making stuff that's going to appeal to people is appeal to who the people are that are going to want to come into your journey where you are. If you're super ultra fit, then you're going to represent one kind of way that people want to work with coaches. If you're starting out yourself, then people are going to want to, see your struggles as long as there's and here's how I made it work better kind of a thing. So for instance, when I was working on fitness and nutrition type stuff, primarily online, one of the things that I kept doing was showing people also not only just when I did great, but when I fell down. I was like, oh, well, this happened today, and here's what I'm doing to get back up. And people would really kind of react to that. Now, the other piece of this to think about is, how are you going to create all this content? And I think that one thing that happens is people get nervous that they're not sure where they're going to find the time. I'm just sort of flicking cameras. So put your hand up if you're the kind of person who's like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to find the time to do all this because I have a whole life and, I have other people. Yeah, I see a couple hands coming up. One way I do it, I call it time quilting. So with the way quilts work is, oh, hi, Ryan. I didn't even see you sneak in. Good to see you. I wish I could watch all the cameras at once. That'd be fun. It'd be like Batman. So quilts are made out of a whole bunch of different fabric that, no longer can be used for its primary thing. So your shirt has a big hole in it and you can't mend it anymore. And so you take a piece and you make it, into something, and then you turn it into a blanket, right? And that's how you get a quilt. So time quilting is, I look for 3 to 5 minutes, 7 minutes here and there, and I pile those all together into the amount of time it takes me to make stuff. So for instance, a photo is really quick to take. We've got our phones with us all the time. It doesn't hurt to take a photo. Take a photo of the shake. Sometimes don't take a photo of the shake. Take a photo of a farmer's market or some berries or a nice piece of watermelon. It doesn't always have to be the product. You can say, this is symbols of a good life. You could take 50 of these at one time and dribble them out over a bunch of days. And then you start to get some content collected. So people start to see pictures from your life, pictures from your world. You get to the gym, you do XYZ exercise. If you're like me, you're really shy and you don't like taking photos of yourself in public, you sneak them. Like you go into the corner and you snap the gym photo or something, or you just take a picture of just the row of weights and you say, another day, whatever. You can look for those kind of motivational quotes, because as much as I think they're sometimes kind of silly, boy, people love them. And sometimes it's just what people need to see at a certain time. So then as you start stacking up a bit of this stuff, you can dribble it out over time. If you're using something like Twitter, just every now and again you tweet, living the good life, and here's a picture of you with a nice slice of watermelon or something. Making it to the gym, 4th day this week, I'm feeling like I'm really winning, right? Excuse me. And then what, by the way, when you switch off of all sugar and soda pops and stuff like that, and you drink seltzer water, you have to compensate for all the bubbles. You can start to put this into a calendar or a spreadsheet. So what I tend to do is I'll open up something like Google Docs, which is spreadsheet form, and I'll just put across the top Monday through Sunday. And I'll start to keep track a little bit of what I've put out there or what I intend to put out there, so that when I'm ready to make promotions, I can start looking at, have I over promoted? Have I put way too much stuff out there, that's self-promoting? And for the different platforms, there's kind of a different pace that you can put information out there. So for instance, Twitter is so crazy right now. Like there's so much stuff going by at any one time that you don't have to worry that you're going to, inundate people. So you could post 10 or 12 times your stuff on Twitter if you wanted, and people aren't going to get all that frustrated as long as it's different stuff throughout the day. One tool for that, by the way, I'm going to type this into chat for you to look at for later. It's free. There's a paid version, but there's a free one as well. It's called Hootsuite. And Hootsuite allows you to do things like schedule your stuff. I like seeing nodding heads when I mention tools. So Hootsuite allows you to schedule your posts. And you can schedule Twitter and Facebook. And I don't think it does Instagram yet. If the business account, I think maybe does. You can start to put some of your stuff up there in scheduled form. And that's kind of cool. That makes it kind of a nice way to put your stuff out there. Facebook posts are nice. Facebook Live from your mobile phone. You can always do, hey, I'm here at the gym. I'm getting ready to get my stuff going. I just wanted to say hi to everybody, blah, blah, blah. You can really start to personalize your messages. Snapchat, I forgot to mention Snapchat, which is starting to get all big with people. The challenge is you want to probably make it 3/4 not promoting to 1/4 promoting. So for every 3 posts, here's some nice watermelon. Then one of like, you should get involved, and whatever your first step is. From there, I mean, you have systems to follow for a reason. So, I'm not familiar with yours. I don't know if it starts with parties or if it starts with, demos or whatever, but you want to get people into the regular system when they're ready, when they're opened up for the conversation. But it's that other great piece of what these tools allow us to do, which I always call it sort of like social hamburger helper. you get a little bit of extra help when you put this information out there in between the stuff you're asking for. By the way, hi, Rachel's little guy or girl, one. Thank you. So anyway, I think that it's fun that you get to, connect with people on the inside. And so, by the way, one of the things I should tell you, I follow Ryan and Joan on Facebook because I've had the chance to spend time with them in person. But I also do it for days when I feel lazy and I see the two of them sweating and dangling off of pull-up bars. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I'll go to the gym. And you are that in someone else's life. And that's enough to remind people. That's enough to remind people that you're there to do business and serve them as a coach. So I think that there's some really great opportunities to reach out and connect with people. And if you've ever had that feeling like you're not sure what to say or what do you know or whatever, you know a little more than someone else who probably needs to know that. I had a really interesting conversation once. I've studied a little bit about nutrition. By the way, I'm engaged to this competitive fitness bodybuilder who is quite into fitness and nutrition. She got her bachelor's and master's in it. So I can tell you that, the average person knows less than anything about even basic nutrition. So even if you say things like, a little protein at every meal helps, it could be science for half the people you talk to. So never feel like you don't know anything. You already know a bit more than other people. You already know a bit more about the process just based on what you've been learning and all that. So I think that there's some really great opportunities. Heath, by the way, is that a whole bunch of Batman stuff behind you? Oh, we're simpatico. We are simpatico. Look at that. Mine was here, but then Chase made me take it all down for this video I shot because their legal department got mad. So I had to take all my toys down except for the ones that they couldn't legally identify. So we could have been brothers. All right. I'm going to pause just for half a minute and see if there's some questions and if Joe and Ryan or Kat or George want to ask me anything. And then we can keep going.
I will ask you this. You mentioned Snapchat, and I hear Gary mention Snapchat all the time too. But what the heck do you do with Snapchat?
The best way to start to get an understanding of Snapchat is follow DJ Khaled, who is probably the most popular Snapchatter. And he's this big, round, I can't even really call him a DJ. He's this sort of nice producer gentleman. And he's had lots of very high-level #1 hits. The guy can't sing. I can't play a single note. And anytime he gets pinned down and asked what exactly does he do on these songs, he's like, I mix the parts around until they vibe. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what he's saying. But he gets 4 haircuts a day. And he DJ Khaled. Hang on, I'll show you. One second. DJ Khaled. All I Do Is Win is one of his bigger songs that you would know. If nothing else, you saw it in Pitch Perfect 2. So anyway, what you do with Snapchat's just kind of moment of life stuff. And there's 2 ways to share it. You can share it really specifically with people, or you can share it into what's called your story. And when you share photos or videos to your story, you could stack them so that they're like a story. So you could shoot one and then another and then another. Khaled will put 20 in a story. You're not him. Do 3 or 4 or something. And the other thing about this is that it's very transient. The media there gets consumed and then vanishes. If someone decides to make a screenshot of something, they can keep it forever, and you'll be notified that a screenshot was made. But for the most part, the media comes and goes. So if someone pushes play and misses the first thing you said, it's gone into the ether. Merry Christmas. Gary Vaynerchuk believes a lot in it. A lot of other people do. I don't believe a lot in it, but I would say that for coaches, there's a real viability to it. One, because of your space that you're serving, and one, because you're also reaching out to a lot of younger people who are just getting involved and whatnot. So I think there's a lot of cool fitness people on there to follow, as Sarah points out. And there's a very interesting one of the things you can do there is you can show recipes. One of the things you can do there is say, I'm going to make a smoothie. And you go, berries, ice, whey powder, whatever, and you blend it up. It's really fun because it sort of cuts it choppy, and then you're done. You have a 10-second video. And so how-to stuff kind of works there sometimes. Little quotes do. Sometimes just funny, weird pictures. I think people kind of go a little overboard on the funny, weird pictures. A lot of my friends who use Snapchat, I'm just like, what are we doing here?
What do you suggest, like with Snapchat, as far as, because a lot of our business is on Facebook. So how do you get those people that are starting to follow you on Snapchat, over to start conversations with them via Facebook? Like, do you have any suggestions for that?
You can, there's a few ways to do it. One is you could actually just Snapchat your Facebook avatar, like your face or whatever, just say, come find me over here as well. I'd love to carry on the conversation. That's the thing. Why I don't recommend Snapchat a lot is it's what is called non-converting media, meaning there's no way to click a link. There's no way to do anything over there. It's less useful than Instagram in that one detail. Like, you can't make people, move somewhere where you want them to. And as a marketer and a salesperson, my job is to make money, and it's to get people to click something. And so I would be doing everything in my power to connect you in other media that I can actually do a better job of connecting with. By the way, I think I'm Chris Brogan on Snapchat, but I almost never post there. So, if for any odd reason you decide you want to follow my snaps, they're almost never interesting. So I'm already just telling you that.
You did such a good job of plugging that.
Reverse marketing.
Chris really likes Snapchat.
This is boring.
A question that I get from our team, from our coaches all the time is, I know, like you just said, don't overthink it, and you know a little bit more than the person who needs to know it. But in terms of just keeping things fresh and finding your brand, I guess, what are your suggestions for that? And I constantly get I don't know what to post. I don't know what to post. What should I post?
To me, it's very much about what appeals to you. It's very much about really connecting with who you really are. Never, ever, 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 never try to model yourself after someone that you're not. It never works out well. It always goes weird. Eventually you meet someone in person and they're like, that's so weird. You're nothing like what I thought you were. If you're a jerk, be a jerk. If you're a really nice person, be a nice person. If you're a weirdo, I am such a weirdo. Go with it, right? I'm a comic book nerd. I'm wearing my Captain America shirt because, opening weekend for the Captain America movie. So be that thing and don't worry. So my friends, for instance, Derek Halpern or Lewis Howes or all these guys, they're forever on a yacht or something like that. Or they're in a Bugatti rolling around. They're like, look at me. And they get their cool glasses that cost $8 million. I half of my clothes came from Target. So, I'm never going to look like those guys, and that's who I appeal to. I feel to, grown-ups who don't want to be grown-ups, I guess. That's probably my niche. So the way you go after figuring that out is just who you really are. Who do you really love? If you're a scrapbooker, if you think you have some wicked, horribly boring thing that nobody else is into, someone's into it. That's the thing. I find, for instance, Reddit, has a Reddit set up for pretty much anything. I could probably type in, booger farts, and there's someone out there that likes booger farts. I don't really know what one is, but I just said that. So you can start to connect with people about that. And when I say people about your brand, do you know what people want to know about when it comes to a brand? They just want to know, do I identify with this in some way? Can I see myself in this? If you're a Harley kind of person, you're not a Kawasaki kind of person. But if you're a Kawasaki kind of person, you're like, oh, Harley's okay. So there's things like this. And I would say, just do your best to not worry that if you ever worry that you're not appealing to everyone, you're doing it wrong if you're trying to appeal to everyone. You're supposed to sort of split things. My 6-year-old loves booger farts. Megan, that's great. Liked this that I said that out loud. I get it now. I was like, he likes the actual thing? That's okay. And by the way, you don't look much like a Jason Schlosser.
It's Bridget. Bridget.
Bridget.
Hi, Bridget, using Jason's account. Anyway, the other thing you can do, when we worry about our brand too much, what we really should be worrying about? How do we serve other people? What do they really need to know? People don't understand food prep. That's one. People have no idea what they should be doing on Sunday and maybe Wednesday for food prep. So show them. That's your brand. I'm a great food person. Some people think that they have to eat this wild variety of food. I eat like 5 total meals all the time, every time. So, there's lots of things that you can show people that are your thing. You know what I mean? That it doesn't have to be everybody's thing. It's just your thing. And that's kind of fun. If you are, let's say you're differently abled, let's say you're wheelchair bound or something, maybe that's something you show people. Here's how I do my exercise. Here's how I do this thing that I'm doing. You know what? I think you could kind of be into most anything. You could be like, I'm a nail artist, and I also am a coach. I think there's just so many things you can share for people that will get them forward. And it's just this simple stuff. Like, you don't have to do it. You don't have to sweat it too much. I mean, if you just go to Instagram.com/Chris.Brogan, look at the random baloney I share there. There's no rhyme or reason. But by marketing, what I'm doing to market is I'm just basically showing people who the heck I am to see if they want to come along for the ride. And if they don't, it's the weirdest thing, but I don't want them.
Right. They're not your people.
They're not my people. And so, again, I know sometimes it can be a little time consuming. The trick of it is always don't get stuck on the reading side and the consuming side and the liking side. And I'm going to 55 minutes later, if you have coaching business to do, it's never going to be in that right-hand column per se in Facebook. If you have coaching business to do, you've got to actually do your business. You've got to make your calls. You've got to reach people. You've got to, message them directly about that. We can get really lost in thinking we have to make media or something, but that's always kind of a side part of our business. It's always a way that we're going to get more people to pay attention to us. That's all.
So Chris, to that point, what would you say would be a good ratio to focus on creating content and working your business? Is it 80-20? Is it 90-10? What do you think would be a good kind of happy medium for people that are getting started, and also people that are, once you start working it, it kind of works itself out when you get your schedule and you're successful, but for people starting to work it?
Yeah. So one way that I look at it is, so I have a model that we use for my businesses with Owner Media, and we call it the 20-minute plan. And in the 20-minute plan, the 20-minute part is what we do in the mornings, and that's how we kind of set the whole day up. Part of that is what we call the 3 hours, basically, which is you take 3 hours and you split it into 20-minute blocks. So it's 9 basic 20-minute blocks, right? So an hour divided by 3 is 320 minutes. So we call it the 9 box. And in that 9 box, we only put stuff that makes us grow and work on our business. So in the 9 box, is sent a newsletter. 9 box is, ask some people if I could, cross promote on my Facebook page to their people, and they'll, do it to the other way or whatever. So it's stuff that grows your business. So I say 3 hours if you can find it. And in that 3 hours, though, making your calls counts. Anything that's going to just keep growing your business. Anything that's, if you've got a list of people and you're supposed to be setting up engagements and stuff like that, then, say I'm going to get 5 to 10 of these calls done, and if you get 5 to 10 no's, that's awesome. You've got those out of the way. You don't have to worry about them for a while. One little detail though, and this is the number one thing I learned in my brief time in the lands of network marketing and other types of related businesses. This is a statistic that I found somewhere. It takes somewhere between 5 to 11 touches and contacts to get anybody to respond and choose whether or not they're going to buy something. 5 to 11 contacts, meaning if you reach out to someone and they never hear back, that doesn't mean you tried. If you reach out and you never hear back after the second time, you still haven't tried. You got to get 5 minimum, sometimes as much as 11, until someone says no. And I don't mean hound them, and I don't mean beat them up every single day. But when I say this, that goes into those 3 hours as well. When I was doing my stuff, I worked for another company called Visalis. When I worked with them, I had a spreadsheet with people's names and what date I last called them. And I would just run down my calls, and I'd get a no. And I had 11 columns over. And until I heard a real no, when I put a red line, it was still maybe until I got a no. And that's what I would put into things like my 3 hours. Now, if you can't do 3 hours to start, then make it an hour. But I can tell you, and I work with a lot of companies, everywhere from Google to Microsoft to Coke to Titleist to little guys. Everyone has 3 hours. It's just where you're choosing to spend them. I have kids, 2 that I know of. I'll have a third when I get married. And I also have a life, and I write books, and I play a lot of video games, and I've got these other really important things in my life as well as my company and the gym. So if I can find the time, anyone can. It's just I also don't know what's going on in Game of Thrones. And I'm pretty sure there's people still trying to escape the zombies in Walking Dead. I'm sure there's still some humans alive, because otherwise the show would just be called All Kinds of Zombies.
I don't know why this reminded me of it, but Chris, one time you said that you know that you're really procrastinating when you get really good at vacuuming while you're writing a book.
Yeah.
And so I was going to ask you, how do you get past, like, I know some people have like fears and whatnot of doing their business. Maybe it is just procrastination, but how do you get past those sorts of things to get to where you want?
There's three ways or reasons, four probably reasons that we procrastinate. One is we said yes to something we shouldn't have said yes to. And that's one reason we procrastinate. The other reason we procrastinate is we're not really sure what to do next. So we get a little kind of locked up, and we're not really sure what the next step is. And for some reason, we don't ask. I've never quite grasped why we don't ask, but it seems that if we're kind of a little stuck somewhere, we could just ask anyone, hey, I'm kind of stuck here. What should I do next? The third reason is that we're afraid. We're afraid because we had some past experience go on, and now we're kind of locked into thinking that experience is going to happen again. And then the fourth reason that we procrastinate was that in the process of doing all this stuff, we think we've done good enough, and we think we can sort of take our foot off the gas. Mm-hmm. And to get past all of those, there's slightly different ones for all of them. So if you're not sure what to do, you just ask. If you're afraid of what to do next, you have to figure out a way to get that courage. The way I do courage is baby steps. Like, I don't want to make another cold call. I'll go back to a warm call for a while. I'll go back to someone who is a pretty warm maybe, or I'll ask a friend something, or I'll make an ask that's really easy to say yes to. It has nothing to do with trying to close real business, right? I'll just try to warm something up. Like, would you just be open to watching a 10-minute video? Those ones kind of get me warmed up to get back to asking the harder ones. Mm-hmm. With the things that you're procrastinating on because you really shouldn't have said yes to them in the first place, I find a way out every single time. I say, you know what, I'm really sorry. I really thought when I took this on that it was going to be great. It's not going to work for me. It's not a good plan. I can't do this. And I'd say that a lot of times people don't want to hear that, but usually there's incentives for why they don't want to hear that. And usually it's always stacked against you. And so you have to kind of understand that, it might be in your best interest, even if it hurts their feelings a bit.
Cool.
I deal with procrastination.
Gotcha.
The other way to get around that is sometimes it's not procrastination. Sometimes we just don't have the muscles built up, and it's just like going to the gym. I was up to squatting 300 pounds, and now I'm back into the low mid 200s again. And it's because if you don't do it over and over again, all your muscles say, oh, I guess you don't need me anymore. I'll catch you later. Well, that's the truth about your writing muscles. That's the truth about your selling muscles. That's the truth about your relationship muscles. All your muscles need endless, upkeep, or they don't work the right way. And so I would tell you that one trick in life is sometimes you got to cycle through where you want to, not spend your efforts. We just don't have enough time in the day. We just don't have enough life in the day. Someone gets sick, or, the kids all go through a flu, or, day job gets really tough and we're not yet there yet where we can be a full-time coach and we're just like, oh my gosh, something's going to give. Well, pick it, don't let life pick it. You choose it, and you'll probably have a much better time of it. So that's kind of how we go after that.
Love it.
Great answer.
How are we doing for time? This is like 1,000,000 o'clock because I'm an old man. So
I have no idea. I think we're.
How do you normally do these calls? Because half of you guys are like in bed. Half of you aren't even wearing shirts and things. It's a little risque, But
Chris, I will let you know. I actually have a shirt on right now. So
I noticed that. I'm not going to ask about pants, but I'm like.
I'm asking about pants, but I'm wearing a shirt.
Really uncomfortable.
We're actually good on time. We usually go about 30 minutes, so we've done that. Okay. Does anyone else have a question before we jump off?
And there are stupid questions, just so you know. Don't be intimidated at all.
Don't be intimidated at all. I've used it. No, people are just talking.
Can I do one piece of shameless self-promoting?
Of course you can.
Absolutely.
All right. my newsletter is the best thing I do every single Sunday. And if you go to chrisbrogan.com/NL and sign up, you'll see how I run my newsletter, which is better than how you run your newsletter if you have one. By the way, 78% of my revenue comes from my newsletter. And I would tell you that it's another great thing to have, as well as things like Facebook. And people still read it, and people keep trying to tell me email is dead. But you know what? You don't check Facebook to see if your significant other is mad at you. You don't check Facebook to see if the boss is, crabby. You check that to see, whether or not there's more videos of Prince making fun of Kim Kardashian. Yeah. So newsletters and email marketing is still like a really cool, powerful way to reach out and connect with good people. So any good questions, bad questions, silly questions, wrong ones?
I feel like people are always so afraid to ask questions.
I'm not. What's the fastest land animal?
I don't know.
The cheetah?
Cougar.
The answer is cheetah.
Oh, you got it right.
Yes.
Oh, Kate answered me. So the funny thing about it is it's not really a question of that. It's actually a confidence question and also a bit of a personality test. So most people, if they know the answer, but they're trying to figure out if there's some weird trick to it, they answer the way Ryan did. A cheetah? You're like, are you messing with me right now? And every now and again, I'll just get the funniest answer, period. My favorite one so far was penguin.
I wanted to say puma.
Who thinks penguin when they think fast animal? That's what
I think Madagascar.
Yes. Smile and wave, boys.
Smile and wave, boys.
Butt hand. Butt hand.
All right. I guess I'll ask, a final question. If so we probably have new coaches that have been seasoned, people just coming into the business. What would you give for a piece of advice that if you're at an obstacle right now and you're trying to move forward in your coaching business or your fitness or putting up that post where you're announcing to everybody that you've decided to become a Beachbody coach, what would be your piece of advice to help that person get through that obstacle? What have you done in the past to get through obstacles?
Boy, a lot of times the way I sort of go after something, for instance, if I'm going to make a change that I'm a little worried people are going to, take a swing at, is I will just tell people with sort of my best attempt at being brave, but I'll always give sort of I'll try to explain it in a way that lets people know that I'm getting ready to be vulnerable. So I'll give you an example. I gave a speech in San Diego. It was not a very big room. It was like about 150 or so people. The event is 3,000 people though, but this room was like 150. And I was going to give a speech for the first time without notes, which is absolutely not me. And the first time I'd ever given the speech, and I was just going to try to see if I could make it work. And I thought, moments before I got ready to do this, first off, I really have to pee. And then the second thing I was thinking was, this is going to go really wrong, and maybe both things will get fixed at the same time. I'll just pee. And so I would say that the first thing I said, right when I gave my speech after they said, please welcome Chris Brogan, I said, I just have to ask, am I among friends here? And it changed the whole room. The whole room just suddenly went, oh, like he's going to be vulnerable. And I was like, because I'm about to do something. I've never done it before, and I could probably mess it up. So I just need to know, are we friends? Because if not, there's like 100 other speeches going on at the same time because there's like a whole row of them, and you should probably go to another one. Like if you're not so sure about whether or not you want to hear from me, like get out. And 2 people left, and everybody else stayed. It was good. And I would say that you can do things like that. You can say, hey, look, I'm just getting ready to start this journey. I'm getting ready to be a coach. I'm excited about it. The people who got me involved in it, I really loved. And, I probably, before I started this, I had the same weird opinion of some of this that you all did. And I always, in my world, I would dispel those things kind of early up front. And I would just say, I know what you're probably thinking. And I would just take the weapons out of the hand. And then I'd say, but here's why I think it's going to work. And here's why I think it's great. And I'd love for you to be a part of this journey. And if not, that's all good. I'm not going to bother you. I'm not I'm not going to show up at your door with, copies of my Bible or whatever. So it's all good. And that's how I do it. That's how I approach making some sort of announcement like that. And I don't make it too grandiose because what if what if it goes horrible? But I definitely sort of put a lineup. So one question here from Chris was, what's the easiest way to promote across different platforms and not overwhelm people? Well, it's a great question. And the way a lot of people try to answer it with these various social tools is they promote like this. It's like one thing going everywhere. And that's really poopy idea. That's a technical term, but it means don't do that. And it's kind of like going up to a bar and seeing all these beautiful, I'm just going to scroll through these cameras and pretend I'm like going to hit on you all. And I'd be like, you have beautiful eyes. You have beautiful eyes. You have beautiful eyes. Like once you hear that, you know, then none of you have beautiful eyes, right? Like it's no longer a good deal, right? You know, so you've got to make it different for each platform. So the best way to do it is take these kind of photos on Instagram. And I push my Instagram photos to Facebook as well because I have two very different communities there. But, you know, if you want to do something also on Pinterest, make it something different. If you want to be on Snapchat, don't try to repurpose it all. The reason we repurpose is we worry we're going to run out of stuff to talk about. Mm-hmm. You're not. You know where all the things that you need to talk about come from? Questions that you get asked. Yeah. You know? Questions you get asked, things you wondered yourself, magazine articles you just read. You got to keep, you know, good information coming in. Readers are leaders, but you got to make sure that you take that information and do something with it. I recently saw a picture of Joan next to like 31 million books. So if she shared, you know, just a tiny bit of information from each one of those books, just every couple of days in a post, she's got content for years. She's got content for years. I got a book right here, Leadership Lessons from a UPS Driver. So this is Ron Wallace, who went from being a driver to running UPS. Ron says, and I picked this page totally randomly, make deadlines a key part of your planning process. Students study harder and are better at blocking out distractions when a final exam is looming. Moms-to-be decorate nurseries to beat the due date of a coming baby. Details for a wedding begin to look like an oncoming freight train for those preparing for the big day, right? I could just take a quote out of that. I could say from Ron Wallace's book, put a link, everybody be happy. You could do that till the cows come home. And then share your selfies and your cool pictures of your awesome yogurt, and you'll all be fine.
That is awesome and such a good segue to the last question that I wanted to ask you, which was, you've written obviously some awesome books, but what is the number one book you would say has either changed your life dramatically or is like your go-to recommendation to somebody else, like they have to read it?
The real answer is
questions with Joan Crocker.
The real answer is nerdy, but I'll tell it to you anyway. And I'm gonna guess already that only 2 of you on this call have read it, and it's Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, and it is a fiction book. And it is a book. It's don't watch the movie. The movie doesn't count. The movie's junky poopy garbage.
I saw the movie.
Junky poopy garbage.
But the book taught me a lot about perspective and approach and mindset that I was able to apply to lots of other things. If you refuse to read a science fiction book about a little boy being made to a general, then I would say Business Stripped Bare by Sir Richard Branson. That's my backup.
Business Stripped Bare. Cool. Thank you. What is that? Does it count?
I did both. Kathy Osmond did both.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Any hints on what the new book is?
If I have, well, so funny story.
You got leaving a lot?
So I agreed with my publisher to write this book, and we had fought back and forth about the proposal. And I don't like the book that I said I was going to write for them, so I just haven't written that one. So I'm working on a book on what video games can teach businesses about success. And the idea is that we need more systems in our life. We need more simple metrics in our life. We need a better understanding of objectives and how to tackle our big goals. And it turns out video games are very unique at being able to help us with this because they oversimplify the world that we're in. When you play Tetris, you know what you're supposed to do. Get the blocks to line up, and once they do, the thing will go down a little more. And it's going to go a little faster, right? Everything inside a video game is built to really be simple. There's a simple score. You know where you are. I'm level 8. Now I know that I need to get to level 10, right? Life is not like that. And so we spend a lot of time in life just running around in crazy circles going, I don't know what to do. So I'm trying to make sure that I can help you out, with business as it applies from video games. My only worry is that people are going to say that it's too nerdy and they're not going to pick it up. So I just have to get over my own fear on that one, and we'll see. And in the meantime, I'm just playing hours and hours of video games, pretending it's research.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm sure everybody on here also appreciates it as well.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Some awesome nuggets in there. I love time quilting. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, that's a good
I'm
one.
going to steal that one from you.
Thank you.
And yeah, there were little, like, I didn't even talk about time management. There were several times in there where he talked about that. So
Yeah,
appreciate it.
and I think one of the other things I picked up was we talk about knowing your brand all the time, and you mentioned something about knowing your community on each social media. You know, staying in that lane and knowing that community, I think that's huge too. Because I think about brand all the time, but the community piece, knowing who you're posting to.
Stepping back and serving. Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody else for attending. Let me see. Look at all these people still on here. I just changed my view so I can see everybody. Easy. All
That's
right.
a lot of faces. Should we take a picture?
You can take a picture real quick. Hold on. Ready? Everybody
say cheese or make a funny face.
smile. All right, cool. I did my obligatory oh my god, that's so funny. All right, guys. Have an awesome night. Thank you again, Chris. I appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Thanks, guys.
Bye for now.